It's awesome to be here in the hills of Perth with you today, Nadine. Thank you for having this chat with me. I thought it'd be really awesome if we talked about today supporting the rise of the goddess.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on that?
It's interesting because just with my own journey around, obviously, you know, the path of awakening, the path of sacred feminine, the goddess, there's all this support out there for the feminine, right? There's, you know, goddess circles, the rise of the divine feminine, the yoni power, yoni healing, all this stuff is really strong in our awareness and just in society, and it's kind of like leaving the masculine a bit confused, like, where do I stand in this whole piece of the puzzle? And so what I've noticed is the biggest gift, if you want to call it, that the masculine can support the rise of the feminine is, and this is talking about energy, so the feminine within the woman and then the feminine within the masculine is rising. It's not just women, like bodied beings.
Sure, because as we know, we have masculine and feminine energies within us both.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so it's like, you know, that masculine energy, what we really need is this strong presence, a really strong kind of like a feeling of safety. So the feminine, you know, you just imagine like an analogy I like to look at it is like, you know, you see a beautiful woman dancing around and it's like a strong kind of warrior standing on the side, like supporting her to feel safe to do so. And so that's kind of like an analogy in your mind you can see going on within you. And when you see in relation with your woman, or when your man is going into his feminine energy, is really holding space for that and creating a safety, like a safe kind of energy and attitude kind of.
I hear you. And it's what I find really important with working with couples as well, is that they understand, as we mentioned, there's a polarity within us. We have that masculine, we have that feminine, both of us, whether we're women or we're men, and it's so important that we get to express both sides of that. And as the woman now seems to be really awakening her inner goddess, really tapping into that Shakti, that the man's power of his masculine almost feels threatened at times, because he's got this really strong woman who's not strong in a masculine sense like we used to be, but more strong in a really sensual way. So how do you feel, and maybe even with dealing with your clients, how can a man step into a harmonious masculine role and honour his woman who's becoming more, you know, in her feminine strength? What can we encourage couples to do so that they are in that masculine feminine harmony within themselves?
I think, first of all, it's kind of like just creating an awareness around that we have inner masculine feminine, because, you know, most of society we see the gender confined roles, that the woman is meant to be a certain way, she's meant to wait for the guy to call, the man's meant to be the one that's like, you know, going after the woman. When we go beyond like societal and like all the conditions that we've been grown up with and what we see in the movies, we realize as a woman it's like, oh, well, I feel maybe I want to call and initiate this, or it might be the other way around. And so creating that awareness is the first step. And then, you know, there's some practices you can do on your own. By what I like to do is just kind of like have a conversation between the two, like just
I love that.
Introduce yourself, like, what does my masculine energy kind of feel like? Like, with a partner you could do things like, there's a nice practice from Margot Anand called the Yin Yang game. I kind of like teach that a lot and draw on that practice. It's where like one goes into the yin, so the feminine role, and one goes into the yang, the masculine role, and you kind of like allocate, just say like an hour of you're in those roles, and man's kind of like the yang is like asking for what he wants and kind of like directing the show, and the yin is kind of like just flowing with the lead, and then you kind of swap.
Absolutely, and it's really holding that space. If you are in feminine, you are flowing, you're being like the ocean, and then if you're masculine, you've got to be that strong warrior, right? Like almost the rock that really holds that space, and to really be in that and not drop into the other, but to really hold that. Even if you can do it for a few minutes. I know an hour is ideal, but some people might be like, wow, that's a long time. but to even play that game for a few minutes and even swap around just to kind of sink into that. It's a great way to help support each other, isn't it? In stepping into your masculine, stepping into your feminine, whether you are a man or a woman.
Yeah. And most of the time, you know, it's like the opposite, because like in a lot of tantric practices they teach, you know, like as a woman, like we're women bodies, it's actually to balance ourselves out, to come to the oneness in the heart. It's like we actually really need to explore our masculine energy a bit more, and men actually need to explore their feminine a bit more, and that's kind of like the point of relationship, because we see the other and we see the reflection of man,
absolutely,
woman, and then kind of balance each other out.
Absolutely, and that's when you've got that harmony, and that's what's so important in Tantra, isn't it? To have that weaving together of the masculine and feminine, as well as the sacred sexuality and spirituality.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So if you want some more information about how you can work with your inner masculine, your inner feminine, you can go to stellamuse.com for me, and for Nadine,
nadinelee.com.au.
Enjoy the rest of your day.